I see some of you already doing that. So I have started the recording now, or being recorded, and I am going to introduce myself, and then I'm going to start sharing my screen so you can see exactly what we're doing today and talk about what you're going through with distance learning, because I know it's been a crazy time for everyone right now with the way we've had to change things. So I am Julene Reed, and hello wherever you are in the world today. I am with Q, working with Q and Microsoft as we do these great and wonderful presentations for you. I live in Memphis. I've been in education over 25 years, starting in like first grade area. I actually taught second grade, but then taught second grade 6 years, tech coordinator for 3 years, science coordinator a year, and then I moved to a middle school, high school, where I was director of academic technology for 17 years, and now I'm an independent consultant and an adjunct professor. So I've taught everything from elementary through higher ed. So lots of things I've been doing and love doing it. And this is such an amazing opportunity for us with the Global Ed Tech Academy, thanks to Q and Microsoft. And I'm very happy to be here working with you today. So I know this has been a difficult time for a lot of you. I know that it's been a lot going on in your lives. Some of you were ready to go online with distance education. Some of you weren't quite ready. You were kind of thrown the deep end of the swimming pool, and that's happened. But you know what? We've learned a lot. We've probably all failed in some ways. We've had our great successes too. We've had our silver linings. And I love to hear about people's silver linings and the things that have come out of this, because now we know what it's like to teach online, whether we go back to schools in the fall and work in the schools, or whether we are working from distance learning again, we can use all these experiences. Even if we're in the classroom, now we know more how we can use this to integrate and use it for blended learning. So lots of successes, lots of failures. So glad you're here. I'm seeing you coming from everywhere: California, Canada, Paraguay, Montreal, wow, North Carolina. I would love to read all these. Louisiana, I grew up in New Orleans, I live in Memphis. So everywhere, you are coming in from all over the world, and that is fabulous. We're so excited. And I want you to know, I'm going to share my screen and show you a couple things then. So let me get my screen sharing going, and then I'll talk more about this. So let me just share the screen. Let me just share, where is the right one? I'm going to share this desktop, which is a mess right now, but let me move me out of the way and put our presentation up here. And then when I get this presentation up, can you tell me if you can see it? Okay, whoops, that's not the right one. Hold it. Let me get the right one. There we go. So let me stop a minute. Let me go back again. Let me cancel this and go back. Let's see if you can see this. So I want to take that off, stop sharing, whoops. And I want to go again because that didn't work. This is what happens when we're going crazy. There it is, I found it, yay. So here we go. So sharing the right screen now, I hope. And are you seeing the Global Ed Tech PowerPoint from Q? Can someone put that in the chat if they're seeing that okay?
Yes, we can.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much. It's just been a crazy day with 2 computers. This is what I was going to tell you. So I was all ready. I was online. I was totally prepared. And I'm sure you can relate to this. Totally prepared to talk to you this morning when suddenly my Windows computer just flipped on me a little bit. And so I restarted, and it's being a little cantankerous because I think I've worn it out this week. And it's fabulous. So then I went to my second computer, and it immediately crashed over to Zoom. So sorry about that. It's just one of those weeks. This is about webinar number 20, I think. So, but let's go on with lesson design for distance learning. And this is great ideas for blended learning as well. So the Global Ed Tech Academy, when you go to their site right now, which is q.org/Microsoft, there are some amazing sessions. But know this, that is the tip of the iceberg. I probably have 25 more sessions to put up on that. This all happened really quickly. We have an amazing team of presenters, so there are lots more coming. Keep checking back at the site regularly and finding the ones that will be of use to you. So like I told you, my background already, I am an EdTech consultant. There is my Microsoft email, julene.reed@usmie.com. I've been an MIE trainer for many years. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about how you design lessons for distance learning. So the first step is thinking, is this an asynchronous lesson or an asynchronous lesson? And you've already started this. You're already at the begin. You've already done this. So some things work really well synchronously. Some things work better asynchronously. So thinking about that as you're developing your lessons. And we're going to look at some of the best practices for distance learning. So one of the things I wanted to show you is think about motivation and relationships. I think that in some ways is the most important thing we're dealing with right now. We think our kids are fine. We think everyone's doing well, but honestly, it's been a hard time for our children too. It's been difficult for everyone. So know that motivation and relationships are really important, and we need to keep that at the top of our list. We may not be in the classroom with them. We may not be in the school with them. And yet that social emotional need is there. They don't always express it well. You don't know it. And then all of a sudden they'll just do something out of character, or they're hiding it in the back of their heads. This is a time when kids have grown up in a circumstance we never had to go through. We can't even imagine, but they are resilient. They're coming back with amazing ideas and thoughts and amazing projects. And I think in many ways they're becoming better human beings because they're more connected to the world and to each other and to their families. So think about that when you're designing your lessons. Thinking about organization, keep it simple, keep it neat. Don't get too complex. And we're going to talk about each of these in depth. And then the third one is lesson design. Slow and easy and prioritize. So those are the three big topics. And now I'm just going to kind of break them down into smaller topics. So if we look at motivation and relationships and that social emotional learning that's so important, then we can break it down. But think about having fun too. Fun is really important ingredient in this. And I've seen some cool stuff. Like I have seen dance parties, crazy hat day, favorite sports day, whatever you want to make it. But take time to have some fun. We need to have academics going on. We need to have learning, but we need to have fun. And take it easy on yourself. So the relationships, think about two-way communication. And when I say this, I'm thinking don't just talk to the children or the students, talk with the students. So communication goes both ways between the student and the teacher. And then don't neglect the group projects. This is a great time for them to keep relationships with each other. And we'll talk about that more in a little bit. Have open office hours. How can students contact you if they're having a problem, if they're stuck on something? Do you have a form they fill out? Do you have office hours every day from a certain time or 2 days a week? So how do they contact you? They can't raise their hand like they used to. And then using the power of video conferencing with Microsoft Teams or whatever platform you're using, that is really a powerful tool. And then build in time just for connections, not just the academics, but build it in for connections. And the last one I think is important, that we have to keep our students' home environments in mind. It's really interesting. One of the teachers that I was working with said that her student was embarrassed to come online with the video because of his home situation. Not everybody has connectivity, but not everybody has the kind of home where they want anybody to see. He was a very low socioeconomic demographic area, lived in a very poor housing place, and just didn't want anybody to see how he lived. So she had tent day. Everybody put a blanket over a chair or over a table and made tents. And they all communicate that way. And that way she said she had the highest attendance ever, because kids weren't afraid to have people see their environment. So we never know what's going on at their homes. And we've talked about having fun, maybe have daily themes or Disco Friday or something where we have a day on Friday we dance or something, but have themes to make it fun. Anything to get them online. You want them to join you. So just lots of ideas and thinking about how you can do that. One of my family members, their daughter, had a joke day. Every third grader came to class with a joke, and they had to have two in case theirs got told first. And then mix it up. Don't do the same thing every day. Mix things up. Interactive projects and educational games. Any kind of gamification is a benefit as well. So those are all things you can be thinking about as you're designing your lessons that relate to motivation and relationships. Next, we're going to look at organization, and I'm going to let you talk to me in a minute and give me any ideas that you want to add to these lists. So be kind of thinking about, that worked for me, that didn't work. I have a Padlet you're going to go to in a minute where you can put your notes on it. But think about things that you could share with us, tips that have worked well for you, because I don't know it all. We're in this together. The strongest person in the room right now is us. We're all figuring this out together. So keep it simple and neat. Start small. And all of you have started already, so some of us are already out of school. But think about what you're doing when you go back to school, whether you're in the brick and mortar environment or whether you're online. Start small. You can't teach the way you did in the classroom. It's not going to be the same. So don't think you can cover every bit of the curriculum you always have. Think about how to organize it in a way that makes sense for distance learning. And what I tell teachers is there are so many tools out here. They just published one today from Tech and Learning that is like all these free tools, and I bet there's 100. And I think that's awesome. For some of us, it's overwhelming. How do I know which one to use when? So do what you know. Do what you're comfortable with. And research shows that it's support from leadership, ongoing professional learning, personal expertise, and belief in the efficacy. Those are the 3 points that really lead to success. And the one I think for you right now is personal expertise. Do what you know. And then when you see something that's going to work well, try it out. And if you fail, that's okay. And if it succeeds, it's like, wow. So do what you know first. And think about bandwidth for you and your students, because sometimes the bandwidth they have is not very good. They may have very limited bandwidth. So I always, ask people, going through the standard thing, turn off your microphone if you're not talking, turn off your video if you're not presenting possibly, because that will help your bandwidth. I love to see faces. When I teach my graduate courses, I love to see their faces. Speaking of turning off our mic, tell the doggy to be quiet. So having the video on helps with the relationship with your kids. Seeing their faces is important, and that's awesome. But if you are having problems, if a student is having problems, maybe have them turn on the video at the beginning, and then during the class part where you're actually talking or sharing, have them turn it off unless they're talking, and then maybe at the end turn it on again. So just think ways about how to reserve bandwidth, especially because mom might be in the other room working, dad might be in the room working, brother and sister over there trying, and we're all online and pulling it all out together. And then thinking about the class notebook, learning management system, whatever you're using to try and manage your learning. So thinking about all of those kinds of things, and I'm going to share with you the power of Microsoft Teams and the power of OneNote and OneNote Class Notebook. They are amazing products. To me, I think they probably have huge benefits that other products don't. And I'll tell you why I think that in just a second. So think about parent communication too. Think about how do you keep these parents involved. They're stuck at home trying to teach things and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to teach the new way of math. It's not, it's not carry the number over and things like that. They don't know anything about advanced physics. So how do we keep them in communication with them? How do we provide them with support? How do we provide any kind of summaries to guardians? How are they getting information? Any kind of weekly check-ins, a forum, a site, whatever you're using to communicate with parents is a really good thing. But above all, I think, keep the focus on the purpose. Keep your focus on lessons and goals and objectives. What is that end goal you want? What is that understanding you want them to have? So thinking about that, think about Grant Wiggins' backwards design model. We always think of what is that essential, that big understanding, and then we backwards design our curriculum. And in that way, we can think about big ideas, questions, and work with the end in mind. So do that. And then I think also regular feedback is huge. Regular feedback where you're either giving comments, you're sending them video replies to the work, video responses. I know my friend Dr. Janelle White-Taylor, who's down in Arizona, what she does is when she's off for her walk during the day, she'll just take her phone and record quick little video snippets of responses. So it doesn't have to be anything formal, but no feedback is worse than even negative feedback. They want feedback and regular feedback. They want to hear from you. I'm going to stop for a second. I think one of us has our microphone on. If we could just make sure your mics are muted, that would be fabulous. Thank you. And that's easy to do, so no worries. Thank you so much. And then moving on with lesson design, then we're going to get into some more specifics. With lesson design, chunk it. Small chunks, small pieces. And that's basic motivation theory. If you give your students a 30-minute lesson or a 20-minute video lesson, it's going to be hard for them to keep their focus. It's going to be hard for them to really engage as deeply as if you gave them 4 or 5-minute videos or a video and something else. So chunk everything. Don't try to do it all in one recording. If you're doing a lesson that's recorded, or if you're live, don't try to do everything at once. Chunk it into pieces that are manageable for them and manageable for you. This is a time where we're developing their strategies for how to manage their time and be responsible and accountable with their learning. And shorter is better. I will tell you, in my doctoral program, if my professors gave me 6-minute videos, I watch them all. If they gave me 4 6-minute videos and 2 30-minute videos, you know which ones I probably watch the most. So don't tell them that, but it is true, shorter is better. And as you're recording your own, it is better to have short videos. And I tell my students in middle school and high school, I've told them, think about a commercial in some ways, not that short, but think about getting your message across clearly and quickly. And so if you get your message across well, then it doesn't take the whole in-depth part. So what other things can you add to it to teach the parts that you're not recording or that you're not sharing when you're live and synchronous? And then we talked about interactive learning, how that's important to keep them doing and being engaged, and giving them variety, maybe different days or different things. I'll show you an example. Different lessons, different activities, and we're going to talk about that as well in a minute. Simulations are great, gamification. I've seen a lot of work on graphic novels and comic books for engaging or having students design things with more of a graphic or media-rich type of content. And then we talked about, you know, the contact methods for questions and roadblocks. And there's just a bit more, digital and non-digital. Not everything has to be digital. Not everything has to be on the computer, nor should it be. Sometimes instead of copy paste on the computer, we want them to copy and paste it. And I think of that going back to a speaker I heard years ago. And sometimes we just want them doing a project. Projects are awesome for kids at times like this, because when they walk away, they have something that's in their control. You don't want a project that's going to require mom and dad to spend lots of time with them. So giving them independence in their projects is important. And we'll talk more about student choice for learning and demonstrating understanding. And then just frequent meetings. You know, you may check in with kids individually once in a while. You may check in with them as groups or as a whole class, and just giving them a quick, you know, Microsoft form. Just do a quick form. How are you feeling today? Send it out to everybody and just, you know, make it easy. A picture of a happy face, an okay face, a sad face, you know, whatever, and then tell me why. And that's a good check-in. Just make a quick check-in like that. So thinking of the tools you have that can support the social emotional as well as the learning. And then the next thing is provide very clear goals and expectations. My students, as many times recently as I have provided extremely clear instructions, extremely clear goals, expectations, and rubrics, and given them the access to them in several places and talked about them at every class meeting, guess what I kept having? Questions. So making sure you're as clear as you can be, and then making sure they know where to go to get the answers if they're unclear. And of course, being able to reach out to you if they need to. And then set your norms. What are the norms for online learning? What are they allowed to do, not allowed to do? What are the norms for that? So setting your norms, and then provide, like I said, activities that can be done independently. And then we're almost done with this part and we're getting ready to move on. But think about your assessment. How are you assessing right now? How have you been assessing? Some schools and districts went to pass fail. Some really didn't do much assessment. I heard of one that one of the research studies said that everybody has the grade that they left the classroom with. And no matter what they do while they're at home, they can't look, their grade won't go lower, but they can raise their grade. Well, let me ask you, how many kids probably were motivated by that? Because it wasn't going to make a difference unless they really wanted to get a higher grade. So is that a good way to do it? Probably at that time, in that emergency situation, it was absolutely fine for that district. I'm sure they discussed it at great length. But we need to be thinking long-term now. How are we going to do assessment? And is it going to be qualitative? Is it going to be quantitative? What's formative assessment look like? What's summative assessment look like? So thinking of all those pieces of how we're going to assess the learning. And more colleges right now have decided in lieu of this that there's no more SAT and ACT, that they're looking more at portfolios and things like that. So it might be, and probably is, a really good time for us to reset and think about why we assess, how we assess, what are we assessing, all those different pieces, and really step back and look at the big picture. I know Finland has announced some really big changes and the whole way they're teaching in the future. So looking at all these different ways of assessment and what is really meaningful and what is the purpose. I think it comes down to why are we assessing? What is the goal? What is the purpose? And it should be about student learning and student understanding. And of course, we want to see that growth in academic outcomes. And now you can use rubrics that are right there within Microsoft Teams or in your classroom resources. So any of the classroom resources you're using, whether in your class you're using a rubric maker in your class, whether you're using something built into Microsoft, whether you're designing your own rubrics and then putting it into the OneNote notebook, however you're using rubrics with your classroom, with your students, then think about using rubrics now. And then I love independent slideshows, and we'll talk about that for asynchronous learning. That's a great idea. And when you're teaching like this and you're live, if they're writing notes all the time, they're not engaged in listening. So it's nice to have, today, Johnny, you're the note taker. Tomorrow, Susan, I want you to be the note taker. And have them share their notes, because they can share them right there in lots of different ways collaboratively now with Microsoft's tools. So have them share their notes and let just one person take notes, everyone else can be engaged. The other part of that is you could send notes out to them prior to or after in a basic format and outline, and then they could just add to them. And so it's up to you, whatever works best. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody's school culture is different. So it totally is your choice how you do this. It's completely up to you. But the one piece I think we need to keep doing, and this is something I believe so strongly in, is collaborating. Whether it's in group work, whether you put them into projects with groups, whether they're having peer editing or doing something with their peers, and look at Flipgrid. Flipgrid is an awesome resource for this. And I have a session coming up next week on Flipgrid. And Flipgrid is where they can do audio and video and record themselves. Teachers love it, students love it, because they're used to taking their videos and using YouTube and all those things. So look at Flipgrid. It's an awesome tool for assessment, for formative assessment, for reflection, which is a huge part of the metacognition process, which is a huge part of learning. Students should be journaling. Have them journal regularly about what they're learning. How did you do in your project this week? What was it like? And let them reflect on what went well, what didn't go well, where they got stuck, what they learned, what their next steps are, and switch that up. One day it may be that they're turning in a document on OneNote and they're keeping a journal in their OneNote notebook. That would be an awesome place to keep their journal. Another day they may be making a quick video and putting it in the OneNote notebook, in their class notebook. Or they just may be submitting things in other ways. They may be doing a reflection in Flipgrid. Or maybe today they're going to have a peer conversation. Maybe that's more difficult right now. but some days when we're back in the classroom, I want you to go find an elbow buddy or get in this group, and I want you to all go through these 3 questions and talk with each other. That's a reflection on metacognition. And then let partners have work too. Let there be partner work as well. So lots of ways to do that. And I have no idea why we have the squiggle on the screen. That's interesting. But mix it up. So maybe Monday you're online. And then maybe Tuesday they're doing independent work and maybe group work. And on Wednesday, maybe they're going off to take a virtual field trip. There's some awesome ones in the Microsoft Educator community, some awesome virtual field trips, lots of others available that you can go have students do as well and learn from those. Maybe Wednesday they have a choice of doing different things. And then maybe Thursday you're online again, and Friday's independent work. Whatever works for you, but just go on and mix it up. That's how you want to do it. And I think more than ever, all of this stuff, people are shooting you with the fire hose. Things are happening so fast and have happened so fast. And as summer comes and schools close for the academic year, even though when you thought you left for a few days, you've been gone for 2 months now. Think about purpose. What is your purpose of what you're doing in every lesson? Think about those goals, those curricular objectives. And don't lose sight of that. Don't get so involved in all these ways of connecting with these different tools and implementing them. Think about that academic purpose. What is your learning goal? What are the objectives? What are the essential understandings you want students to learn to acquire? I had a teacher come to me one year and said, I've been doing podcasts, I've had our kids do videos, we've done all these cool things. What's the next best tool to use? And my answer to her was, it's not about the tool. It's not what's the best next best tool. It's about what is my curricular goal? What are my objectives? What is the purpose? And what could I use digitally with technology that I could integrate and implement that would support that would really make things even more engaging, that would add to the lesson. I don't want to do it if it's not adding to the lesson. So I think that's really important, to keep your focus on the purpose. And then finally, I think the other thing in this realm, if I can get it to go first, have fun. Don't forget the fun. Take it easy on yourself. Forgive yourself when things don't go the way you think they will, and just have some fun. That's really important, to have fun. So speaking of fun, we're going to do a little activity here in just a second. I think it's right after this. We've been talking a lot, I've been talking a lot about synchronous learning, all of us learning together like we are now, and then asynchronous when we're learning at different times. So as you're designing your lessons, remember not every student may join you in the real time. So if they watch a recording later, do they have all the information they need? And then how will they watch it? So just keep designing things both synchronously and asynchronously. Just like today, we're here, but people from other places may be viewing this later. So I think that's important. So what I want you to do now, and I'm gonna put this in the chat, I'm gonna back out of the presentation mode, and I'm gonna put this in the chat for us. What I'd like you to do is go here, and let me find my chat. And I want you to put a note on this Padlet. I don't want it to go to Jen. I want it to go to everybody. Only one person got it. There we go. There you go. So if you'll go to that Padlet, someone will just put in the chat that they got there. That'll be great. So I'll know you're there, and then I'll see you working it in a second. I just want to make sure you get there okay. Got there. Awesome. So if you haven't used Padlet before, you should be able to see it right here. Hold on just a second. This is a great check-in. It's a great tool for something to use for exit tickets, bell ringers, a check-in of any kind, just a really quick one. There's a lot of us here, so you're normally not going to have this many people. But what you're going to do is when you get here, there's a plus in the bottom right-hand corner. And when you hit that plus, you can double click anywhere, and then you can add to it. and double click on the screen, and then you can add something to the Padlet. And I put the instructions up here. Share a tip you have for engaging your students either synchronously or asynchronously. And then hopefully in the top left corner, you'll see that there's one that's empty that I'm working on. I'm circling my cursor around it. And you can upload items here, images or whatever. You can put links. You can take a photo here, have a snapshot like a selfie, and on the 3 dots, I want you to look at the 3 dots. When you're here, you can capture your voice, you can capture video. So there are lots of ways you can draw, lots of ways to use something like Padlet to engage your students. And I'm seeing people are using things in slideshows where they're doing a slideshow, and within the slideshow, like I'm seeing Pear Deck, so they can put interactive questions in the slideshow. So the slideshow, you know, will let them write on their screens and do things like that while you're presenting. They have the ability to actually react, and then all that information comes back to the teacher, and they can write text, they can draw, whatever. I see another one asking poll questions. Mystery place of the week and give them credit. I love that. Digital escape rooms. I had a teacher yesterday, and maybe this is the same teacher, shared one on ice cream trucks. She did a whole digital escape room on ice cream trucks, which sounds really fun and frivolous, but actually there were some real lessons built into it, and it was all done digitally. ESL, think about the power of Flipgrid. Think about the power of this because you can record voices. So that's really good. Common sites, I'm looking, oh, I love Flipgrid. Yeah, I see Flipgrid, amazing. I see Edpuzzle is awesome for putting things within video clips. So if you have a video clip, you can use Edpuzzle where it stops and asks the question and then it starts again. So it's giving accountability for students to be watching the videos that you're having them watch independently, even your videos, which is a problem with distance learning. Do you know they're really watching them? So how do you know? Either build it into a form where they watch the video and then use the Microsoft form to respond in some ways for accountability and some type of like check-in assessment. And then also Edpuzzle, like I said, you can do that one as well. So thinking about how to build those types of things in. HyperDocs, I love HyperDocs. I love choice boards. You guys have some great options here. Yeah, it looks more, you know what? Small chunks of work. And the one that wrote that, it looks more manageable. It looks more manageable for you too. So yeah, you don't all have to write on this, but I wanted you to see this tool because it is a good tool for us to be using right now, and I love the power of it. So right now I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint because our time is going quickly. And we did that. So I'm going to take us back in again. And hopefully you can still see this. If you have any trouble when I share it again, let me know. But you should be able to see it. Okay, and I have my chat where I can see it now. So thinking about working synchronously and what are you doing when you're working synchronously and what lessons work best that way, that's really important. And one of the ways that I love working synchronously is with Microsoft Teams. So looking at Microsoft Teams, I don't know why that image is coming through blurry to you, but looking at Microsoft Teams and thinking about how you can use that with synchronous meetings. And the beauty of it is it merged right in with their class notebook. So if you haven't used Teams before, because I know a lot of teachers use class notebook, but they're not using Teams, and that's okay. But now it's the time to think about it. So what I always encourage teachers is you're setting up for your next academic year. If you've been using class notebook and OneNote, don't just make the class notebook. Make a team, and within teams, then you can create the class notebook because it's a bit of a one-way street. When you have a team, you don't have to use the team portion. You could just use the class notebook. But you've got that overarching, enveloping structure, that team bubble around the class notebook. And when you make a class notebook without teams, you can't go backwards. It's a one-way street going the wrong way. So I really recommend as you go forward to have Teams, and if you're not going to use the function of Teams, although with this, Teams is amazing for your meetings, for your video meetings, and you'll have that then built right into your class structure with Class Notebook. So yeah, Cheryl says hers is using it. So awesome, Cheryl. So use Cheryl, I mean, use the teams, and I know a lot of us haven't. We've just used the class notebook before, but now it's a time to really think, let me make the team, and I don't have to use the team for everything, but I want to use the class notebook part, and the team is still there if I need it or when I need it. So that's one thing. And then make sure you're setting your norms and behaviors. Like, make sure that the kids are going to be there. They're going to be actively engaged in the lesson, that they're not going to, just like you would in your classroom. Keep your mics muted unless you're told otherwise. We're going to stay on topic in the chat box during the lesson. Let them know that it's all being recorded so you'll be able to figure it out. So you really want them to, yeah, I'm looking at the chats for a second. I'm sorry, I don't want to stop and look at that, but I'll address it in a second. You really want them to have those norms and know what the expectations are. I know, and even thinking about the best place in their house to have a meeting with you. There have been some interesting things that happened if you don't have your back to a wall. So you want to make sure that you're in a place that they feel safe and that they feel it's a good place where they can focus. And my granddaughter was back in her bedroom with terrible bandwidth. So I said, you need to move to a different part of the house because it was cutting in and out. And now she's great. So just finding that own little spot for them. And then when you're presenting, and this is what I was doing today till I had a computer crash, having a second device is good. Always a backup plan. And my backup plan even failed for a little bit today. So it's just Friday. They're tired. They've been doing too many webinars all day long. And it's really good, and I had done this, to restart before you start a lesson with video, because your memory gets kind of locked up sometimes. So always restart your computer first. That's just a technical part for you. And then stand up, walk around, do something during the lessons. Everybody stand up and do 10 jumping jacks and sit back down, whatever. There are a couple of websites you can use for this. Go Noodle is one, and Super Movers. Probably Go Noodle is more towards the younger kids, but Super Movers can be both. But be sure that you have kids stand up and move around. You don't want them just to sit all the time. I think that's really important, that they're moving and they're active. And it depends on how long your session is. Maybe you don't want them to move around because you'll lose control if they're too young. So just be thinking about that. So let's stop for a second, just look at the chat. My school system's using Teams. Yes, there are sessions on Class Notebook. I'm doing some, and I'm doing some on Teams and OneNote, all those things, as well as others. We have a whole team of us. And just know, like I said, keep checking back, because I truly have over 25 more sessions to post, as do many of us. So this is going to be a global initiative. We're doing this all over. We're super excited to be here with you. And it's FREE, our favorite thing for teachers, that it's free. And you can watch the recordings too. For Super Movers, just do a search on it. Do a quick little search. I think you'll find it real fast. And I'll look for it in a minute after we're done and put it in the chat for you. You'll have access. These are going through, we hope, the rest of the year. We know they're going through September, these sessions, and help the rest of the year. Let's get back to this, and I'll answer more questions in a little bit. Thank you for putting Super Movers up there. So the community check-ins, having those check-ins I've talked to you about are really important with both parents and students and each other. Are you checking in with each other? Are you taking care of yourselves? I've been so busy. I've been great. And then yesterday evening, I was overwhelmingly sad, and I don't know why. And that's okay. It's okay to not be okay. So having someone talk to you, you had a friend who said, do you want to talk about it? And I'm fine. So, because I kind of reset. So it's okay. But you need to take care of yourself too, and have your own community check-ins with each other. So I see some of you want to learn about Class Notebook and Teams. And let me tell you a little about Class Notebook and Teams. So Teams is a way to keep a group together. You can have a team for your teachers, a team for your school. You can have a lot of different teams. And you can, like I said, I would start with a team, and then you can quickly make the Class Notebook. And so there are different parts of this. If you break it apart, OneNote is in here, Class Notebook is in here, and then they live in Teams. So it's kind of like Teams, Class Notebook, and then OneNote. So a OneNote notebook is private to the student. And they can share it if they want to, but it's really private to the student. In Class Notebook, now those notebooks are all set up for each student and they can't see each other's, but as a teacher, I can see all of theirs. So I can see all the work they're doing there. And another thing is they do have some collaborative space they can use in the class notebook. And so that's good. What I love, and this is the part I really like about class notebook. As a teacher, I can push, think of your class notebook as a 3-ring binder. Let me step back. Think of it as your 3-ring binder, and you had your sections. That's kind of your note or your OneNote notebook. You have sections with, you know, those cute little colored tabs you had. And so you have math, history, science, whatever. I'm just making things up. But as a teacher, I can set their notebooks in class notebook with the tabs I want them to have for what I'm teaching. And then I can push content to them. I can take, you know, assignment pages, resource pages, and in one little click, I can send it to all my students' notebooks. It'll show up in their notebooks. I can quickly go through all their notebooks, assess their notes, leave them a quick little video response, annotate on them, anything I want. So this is the power, I think, for education of the Microsoft tools is the Teams, the class notebook, and the OneNote notebook. So if you're thinking about doing that, I would love to have you join one of our sessions, and we're going to have some. Is there anyone who's using this right now that would like to talk and just open their mic and share how they're using those with their classes and how they've been able to see it work? Just open your mic and talk if there is. I'd love to hear success stories if you have one. And yes, it's a bit of, I see some of you saying you've never used it, so it's a tiny bit of a learning curve, but not much at all. And we're going to be here to support you for that. We're going to be doing the sessions to support you for that. Whether it replaces, do I hear a mic? Maybe?
Yes, you do.
Yay! All right, talk.
I teach video production and work in schools technology, and I used OneNote class notebook with my classes this year. It was great for distributing, you know, anything that I had pre-made. I could send to them. It actually integrates with our LMS, so I was able to assign them work, and it went right into my digital gradebook for me, and went on their, you know, LMS group of assignments. And yeah, it was a powerful combination for me.
Oh, that's awesome. What's your name and where are you?
My name is Jeremy Ron. I'm at Cranbrook Schools in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan.
Thank you.
I'll piggyback off of what
Sure,
Jeremy
go.
said. I'm in Nebraska with the Diocese of Lincoln. We have 30 schools that span the entire state. And we only had one middle school group of teachers that decided to use class notebooks starting at the beginning of this past year. And the parents, now that we've gone to distance learning, the information we're getting from the parents diocesan-wide has not been very good when it comes to our LMS. But the teachers who used class notebook, the parents and the students so happy with it because it's seamless and it was so easy, and they didn't have any of the slowdowns that all of these LMSs were experiencing. And the teachers loved it. It just continued. It was as if nothing had changed, even though the kids were at home and they were doing distance learning. It was perfect. I absolutely love it. So now we're looking at pushing it further and trying to get teachers to see that, hey, this is a great product and everybody should be using it.
I can also share a couple of success stories with working with the schools technology area of our school. We have a couple of math teachers and a few of our science teachers that are using it. The math teachers in particular, we have a lot of students that have touchscreen computers. They can write right on the screen, and the teachers all have touch screens, so they're able to annotate and give feedback right on their tablet. And we have a middle school Latin teacher who actually jumped in both feet and has been using this with her students. So
well, that's awesome.
Starting to get some traction.
Can I?
Okay. Sure.
I teach 6th through 8th grade family and consumer sciences in Prince William County. And I'm only using OneNote right now, but what I love about it is I can put the videos and the directions for doing our sewing projects or the different things that I do. And I was wondering how this was going to work, because I've been in the classroom 26 years, and this is a humongous change for me. I started before there were computers on the desks. But what I noticed is I have more time to teach. I have more time to walk around and help them with their craftsmanship, move kids further, because I find that I have kids that are really into the sewing, and they finish the smaller project fairly quickly. And I got to move them on to embroidery, beading, and they were looking at the little video snips I had at home and taking things further. So that's what I liked. It let me give a greater variety of choice and let me be the coach and not the room monitor kind of thing and the passing out the papers.
I love that. I love that. That's fabulous. And interesting, because things like what we used to call home economics and shop, and now the maker spaces or whatever, are really coming back. And this is a time that we can see why. Your kids can probably all make masks.
I had a couple kids get in touch with me about making masks and asking me what the best patterns were. So I have about only 5 or 6. So I have that have made about 100 masks in our area. So I was just
fabulous.
Really,
two things you both said that I love that, and I love the interactivity of a touch screen. And they have gotten to be a lot more affordable. So if your district or school is looking at new devices, look for the touch screens. That provides the writing, the annotations, just like you said. They can see your videos in the notebooks. They can annotate, work out their problems. So many ways to do all this. So absolutely look at using a touch screen. I think that's—
And include iPads in those as well, not just PCs.
Absolutely. And
our most successful school was the one-to-one iPad school.
That's great for you to say that. Thank you so much. And so thinking about the apps you can get for these different things, you just download the apps for them.
And to be able to, I have Apple TV in my room, and using the iPad, Bluetooth, and you can show things right immediately up on your smart board instead of having to wait to go through the process of getting it up there. It's really cool.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
I'd also like to add that I use the classroom for students that are absent. It's a great place for them to go and get the PowerPoints and lessons and stuff that we've done in class when they were out, and it allows them to keep up with what we're doing in the classroom when they're not able to be there.
Perfect. And if you're doing screen recordings, even if you have your video especially, they love to see your face in these screen recordings, and we're going to have to hurry to get through everything. But even if you do that, you can embed those right here too. And so here's an example of like where you're doing the annotation, doing the Pythagorean theorem. And I have seen amazing science notebooks where kids didn't have touch screens and they were using trackpads. So, and they were middle school kids. So know that they're very flexible in this. And so this is what your notebook looks like. It may have tabs on the left or on the top, depending if they're online or if they're on the desktop app. You really want your kids in the cloud. Have them start everything in the cloud. And so then they'll have their different like homework, class notes, hand notes, quizzes, and then they'll have geometry, algebra, all different things. So they can be organized lots of different ways. And then think about, I don't know why, it's just me talking loud, I guess, but think about things like PowerPoints for student agency and collaboration. I love this. I love that I'm not always presenting the PowerPoint to the kids, but maybe they're working in groups and they're building the PowerPoints to present collaboratively. So maybe you have a group of 4 and they're creating a presentation on a topic we're getting ready to study, and they're going to each make different slides and they're going to present it as the background knowledge. And teaching each other, that's developing student agency. They're taking charge of their learning. So rather than, you doing all the teaching, let the kids do it. So they're learning about planets. I know a foreign language teacher who did it on different cities in Spain. They all had different ones, or maybe they're doing different states. Or my AP psychology teacher also did it on different theories of psychology, like individuation, and the kids taught the lesson. And the teacher is still guiding. This is really important, and they're still asking very powerful questions. Can you make sure your mics are off again, please? And so that's really good too, providing opportunities for student agency and letting them collaborate. So, and as maybe a demonstration of understanding, maybe they're also collaborating. So lots of ways to do that. You can make interactive PowerPoints, you know, choose your own ending, easy to do. And when I do my PowerPoint session, I'll be showing that as well. So there are lots of ways you can do that. But think about your learning target. Give them exact specifics. Like I said, be specific. Our learning target today is, well, this was an example I would use for teachers, but give them the learning target. Then tell them exactly what they'll do in every lesson. You're going to watch a video, you're going to explore different tools, you're going to create a slide, all those types of things. So think about that. And then even for this, Emma, this is Emma Pass, she even puts for her high school English class, okay, this is going to take you 5 minutes. And on every one, she tells them every one of them, how long that video is going to be or how long that activity will take. And she gives them assignment instructions. She does some direct instruction. Putting your face there is so much better than just hearing your voice or just watching it. They want to see you too. And using things like Edpuzzle and PlayPosit for assessment and accountability. And then thinking about, you know, this was an assignment, so you may say, explore these links, find the slide labeled with your number, write a summary, give details, and this was to go with an activity I did. So with a workshop. So things that people are using are like Kahoot, CoSpaces, Edpuzzle, Padlet, Flipgrid, ThingLink, Quizzes, GoFormative, Book Creator. And so in one of my workshops, they actually all go pick one and they go off and do it. And there was choice there. So making sure you're giving them choice. One thing that was said, and we'll talk about the direct instruction is important, but as we look at this, even for blended learning in the future, what I love was what you said about your sewing classes, that gave you more chance to work with each group. So just because they're working asynchronously on technology, you know, like a flipped classroom, blended learning model, that doesn't mean you go have a coffee break at the desk. What that means is now, like she said, you have the ability to go around and check with each group. Every group comes up at a time, maybe at a table, and you say, okay, how's it going? What do you need next? Or you might be having individual check-ins. So either in person or online, that gives you the ability to really dig down deeper with the kids that need more help or the kids that are advanced and ready to move forward. Screencastify, a lot of people use it, lots of different screen recordings, but did you know you can record in PowerPoint? If you just go to, and I'll show you in a second, in your PowerPoint, you can record your screen here. So this is one that is a really easy one to use, just using, you know, setting it up in PowerPoint. And you will just go to Insert and go to Screen Recording. Yes, and this is the desktop version, not in the cloud yet. It's coming. Microsoft's goal is to have everything be exactly the same, but they're not quite exactly the same yet. So Slide Masters aren't quite here yet. Insert a Screen Recording isn't here yet. But when you do that, it's really easy to... I'll show you an example of a screen recording. I'm recording this right now in PowerPoint, and I could be showing you different things on my screen. It wouldn't have to be a PowerPoint. It could be a blending window that I have open here. And when I'm done, I would just stop the recording and then be able to embed it. So I just wanted you to see an example. I did that in like 10 seconds, you could tell. Really fast. So it wouldn't have to be the PowerPoint. It can be anything. So you can use anything to do that. I have a question. Example of Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let's move on. So I think I'm going the wrong direction. But as you're working with your kids and they're doing PowerPoints and different things, have them keep design in mind. And this is for you as well. You want it to be about story. you want to be a beginning, middle, and end to your presentations. That's not necessarily curricular, but if they're doing any other presentation, just think about, don't make every slide a different color. Use the negative space as well as a positive. Limit it to maybe 3 colors, 2 fonts. And people tend to present with the rule of 3, beginning, middle, end. And what I tell my students is, and you can relate, I'm sure, you don't want to see a middle school or high school student or a teacher or a presenter, keynote speaker, do paragraphs of text that they read to you. It's about story. So you put a few visual things in there, and it's about story. So the presentation should be about story. Microsoft has some awesome design templates already built in. If you're in PowerPoint and you put an image or 2 in, you'll see the design options pop up on the side, and they have some awesome designs that will just happen. PowerPoint also has templates available, so you can look for the PowerPoint templates that are made by Microsoft. Yes, and Slides Carnival has free templates for you too. So if you want to spice it up a little, you can do that. And we're about out of time, but I do want to go through a couple more slides with you. So thinking about, we've talked about choice, ownership, voice, and authenticity. Those are critical for our kids right now. They want to have some choice in what they do. They want ownership of their learning, authentic relevance, real world. They want to have a voice in what they're doing, and they want authenticity. So we want to personalize their learning as much as we can. We can do that in lots of different ways. We can differentiate with Class Notebook and give assignments to some and not others. But think about other ways we can do that. And we talked about sometimes it's no tech, sometimes it's low tech, and sometimes it's high tech. That's a choice. So thinking about how to give them choices in how they learn things and how they demonstrate their understanding. So here are a couple examples. Like, this is for demonstrating understanding. They could choose any of these. You know, you've done this session, you've done this, we've covered this topic now, and you're going to give them directions and rubrics. But things like this, you can give them that. Here's a tic-tac-toe example where they have to do the one in the middle, and then they can choose any of the others. But just thinking about giving them choice, ownership, voice, and authenticity. And then these are just tips for parents. You know, it's all about us, but also do this for parents. Now, I will laugh because some parents are really successful at putting everything on a schedule. Their kids are on a schedule. Some really aren't. You know, some are like, we started the schedule, it lasted 2 hours. So pretty much that. But just continue to build your community. Look at Flipgrid. I'll be doing that. It's an awesome tool. Other things too. I know some of you have asked about the slides. Just feel free to email me. It's on this next slide here, julene.reed. Oh, there should be no period after read. julene.reed at, skip that other period, usmie.com. And I will send you a PDF of them that you can use. So they're available. I saw a question about things that Google Classroom versus Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Class Notebook. You know what, as an educator, and as a consultant, I think that's a personal decision for every district, or as a district or school decision, and a personal one. I know districts that are using both, but you don't want to get it so complicated. This is what I have to say about that. You have to judge that for yourselves. But don't get it so complicated that parents are having to go to 2 or 3 different places, like the LMS, the Microsoft Teams, or whatever else you have. And don't make it so complicated for you or your students. So you want to find kind of a one-stop, one-shop, one-size-fits-all to make it more seamless. Do the best you can. Take small steps. Don't put too much pressure on yourselves. Forgive yourself for mistakes, like 2 computers dying at the same time. What were the odds this morning? And just know you'll survive, and you'll learn from it, and you'll go forward. But I know you've done an awesome job. I know you're continuing to work hard, and summer may be here and school's out, but don't let me think for 1 second it's not in the back of your head about what's going to happen, how will we do it. And the Center for Disease Control, CDC, issued guidelines yesterday for schools, and yet every region is different and may override them. So things are changing, and no matter what part of the world you're in, it probably is not going to look like it did before, but that may not be bad. It might be a good thing. So find your silver linings. I hope these were some ideas that could help you today, that you came away with something you can use and can think back on how you have been organizing and think about, I need to be clear on my instructions. Maybe we can do some other kinds of journaling and metacognition activities. Just find something that's going to work for you. And so I'm here if you want any questions, have any questions or anything. You know what, the recordings, I'm not sure, we're submitting them right now, and I'm sure there will be a link on the Global Ed Tech Academy website that will tell you where to get them soon. Like I said, this changed really quickly. This all took place, I think they finished the contract on Friday, a week ago, and we were all presenting on like Tuesday or Monday. So it's gone really, really fast. So thank you. You know, like I said, I'll put my email in the chat for you as well. So it'll be right here for you. There you go. Oh, and you know what? It keeps wanting to go to Carolyn Worth. I have no idea why. So let me do it again to everybody. So interesting. And she's not here anymore. So here you go. There's my email. So feel free to email me if you want a copy of anything, if there's any other ways I can help you. I know Alice Keeler has a session starting right now, so some of you may want to jump to that. And I'll be looking forward to seeing you hopefully at some of my Flipgrid, Class Notebook, Teams, OneNote, PowerPoint, all those different sessions coming up soon. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll hang out if anybody has any questions.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye.
so much.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks.
Hi, Julene.
Yeah.
A question I think that came up, maybe it was answered, I might have missed it, but regarding using Teams with Classroom, is there a way to kind of mix the two well or easily, or pros?
I don't think they're really going to play well together because they're
Okay.
two different, but I know, I will say this. I know I was in a district, where was that district? It was the Northeast, and they have both. And I think it depends on your school and your culture and how tech savvy they are. So this was a high school, the kids were tech savvy. This teacher used Microsoft, this teacher used the Google Classrooms, and it was completely up to them, which they did. But you just don't want to make it difficult. That's the one thing. You want to make sure that it's not difficult.
Right. I was wondering if there's like one,